Archives and Research Center for Ethnomusicology. We are part of the American Institute of Indian Studies. And this is, as you can tell, in collaboration with the India International Center, whom we are grateful for really ongoing collaboration through the years, especially Tete, who supports all our projects. This is what we hope today's lecture is one of many we hope that will help focus on the kind of recording collections we have at the archives to bring more attention and make them more alive through people like Dr. Madan Meena, who's worked for many years with many communities, nomadic, tribal and otherwise in Rajasthan. His collection with us reflects part of how we could introduce him, not only the Tejaji ballad, but the other devotional oral epics of Rajasthan. We have Bagrawat and Babu from him, songs of Meena women, and many other such genres, which shows the kind of breadth to his work. But of course, he has worked most intensely, I feel, on Tejaji. And for many years, and his recent work sounded so fascinating. I said, you have to share it with all of us. And he's been doing a lot of recording, audio as well as video. And he's currently honorary director at the Adivasi Academy at Tejgarh, which shows you another area he works. Madan is not only a researcher but an artist and has been very active as an artist for many years, works as in the crafts, very much an activist in that area. And so I will now leave him to tell you a little more. Thank you. We'll take questions after we are done, right?
So, thanks to Shobhaji, thanks to Tete, IIC, ARC and my friends who are here. So I should narrate a small story. My throat is very bad, but I'll try to be whatever I can do. It was 2002 and a small exhibition of my research work at that period of time was on the wall paintings of my own community. The wall painting done by the Meena women. And Tete has found interest to exhibit them at IIC NXC building. And that was opened by Kapilaji. And soon after that exhibition, some of those works are also here in dining hall of IIC now. IIC acquired 3 or 4 works from that particular exhibition. Soon after that, Kapilaji has met Komal Kothari in Jodhpur, and she talked about my work of working on this traditional art form in eastern Rajasthan. Komalda was planning a museum of brooms. Everyone known him very well as a folklorist, has extensively worked with the musician communities of Rajasthan. So Komalda called me, can you come and help us with the museum, and I want the structure of the museum to be similar to your Meena houses. That was his first brief. So I came back, studied the architectural perspective of the Meena houses, gave him all the drawing details and everything. And that's how the structure of the museum was conceived. At the same time, Komalda asked me that you come from East Rajasthan and his work has been mostly in Western Rajasthan. He divided Rajasthan through a river Banas. His imagination of division of Rajasthan was not through the Ravlis, which also divide Rajasthan, but his imagination of dividing Rajasthan was through Banas river. He said that I have worked west of Banas and you come from east of Banas. So if you start working on folklore in your region, we'll support you. And how that support will come, he said, that we'll get you a fellowship from Rajasthan Patrika, because he was very closely related to the Rajasthan Patrika family. Your articles will be featured in the newspaper and you'll get a regular fellowship from that. So I started recording. That fellowship did not happen, but I started recording first with my own community, my own village first. And those were the Meena women songs, because I was already working with the Meena women paintings. So first I recorded those women. Then in my village itself, there is a shrine of Bhairuji, which also has ideals of Bagrawat and also that of Mataji. And my village is very adjacent to the Gujar village. So the name is Narayanpur Tatwada. Narayanpur belongs to Meena and Tatwada belongs to the Gujars. and who are very close family friends like people with us. So there I started working on Bagdawats. So that was an important work which I felt that this is a very long epic story just like Mahabharata and it should be recorded. I found that there is already an earlier work which has happened on Bagdawat done by Joe Miller and Rani Lakshmi Chudawat also. But that work was again from the west of Rajasthan. Over here the genre of the singing of Bagdawat was entirely different than what Rani Lakshmi Chudawat has done and what Joe Miller has worked upon. Joe Miller's work was basically on the Fad of Devnarayan. And over here the genre was of singing in form of a goat. A style I'll also play a sample here because in the same style I have also captured Tejaji also. So I started working on Bagdawat starting from 2003-04 and continued, and then this whole episode of this Gujar reservation came up. And simultaneously I was also doing the Museum of Brooms after Komalda passed away. So Bagdawat work was all covered across Karoli. I started from Karoli, Savai Madhopur, Tonk, then I went down to Haruti region, which is Kota, Bundi, Jhalawad and Bara district. I met many of the musicians over there because there were very few people who knew the complete ballad or the complete epic of Bagdawats, which is half of it is on Devnarayan, but half of it is on 24 brothers who are father and uncles of Devnarayan. Then this Gujar reservation episode happened and then I had to stop those recordings because a lot of clashes happened between Meenas and Gujars because the Gujars wanted the reservation in ST category and those clashes happened, and when at one night I was recording in a Gujar village and I found myself very unsafe because I was the only Meena in the whole Gujar village, so I had to stop in between. Meanwhile, because being myself also a practicing painter, I have been doing regularly painting parallel to all this work because that has been my bread and butter also. So once I camped in Bundi during the monsoon period to do a series on the lotus pond there, which is Jaith Sagar Lake, which is in Bundi, and even M.F. Hussain made his first film in Bundi, and this place is featured in that film also, which is Through the Eyes of a Painter. If you remember the first film that M.F. Hussain made, that was in Bundi. Bundi has been very picturesque and many of the landscape artists has come and camped in Bundi and painted Bundi. So I also was painting this Lotus Pond series during the monsoon period. In the evenings I used to go around the villages to see what all happens in that region, and one evening I came across the Tejaji singers. Such a melodious voice, such a melodious music because it was Algoza. So I met these musicians of village Thikarda. I went to them during the daytime. In the evening I listened to this music because some snake bite has happened and the patient was there at the shrine. So the singing is attached with the snake bite. That is something that we need to understand. Whenever snake bite happens, the Bhopa calls the musicians, they sing, the Bhopa comes into trance, he possesses the spirit of Tejaji, and then the extraction of the poison happens, and that is how the whole ballad is all around snake poisoning, snake bites. So I met this Jagaji, very elderly person, 75 years, and I made a request because that time also I was working on Bagdawat to find people who know the ballad completely, not just doing some sample recordings, but to record the complete ballad. So Jagaji narrated me the complete story, and I was quite sure, confident that he knows the best, and the recordings started with Jagaji and his team, Fatihji and all other members of Thikarda village, which were basically Mali community. In Thikarda, that's the Mali community. So these recordings happened at night, and then a book came up. To start this work, a small grant also came from Cambridge University because they had started this World Oral Literature project, and luckily I got a grant, and from that grant this book was published. So I brought these recordings. When this book was being published, there was an audio DVD also. So you will find whatever is being sung, whatever is there in the DVD, the transcription is also there in the book. One can read and one can listen because the purpose of this book was not to release it in the market, but it was meant for the villagers. It was meant for the second generation. So at least they get to listen, they can read from the book, and they can try singing from it. Because when I was recording these jagrans, I never saw any person below 40 years who were attending these jagrans. The youth was completely absent from these night jagrans. So I thought that the youth could find interest in the book, and once it is recognized, they might just take up from the book. So it literally happened. A boy from the Kalbila community, Giraj, he took up this book and he became so fond of this book that he used to carry this book in his bag to his school, his father told me. And today he's a professional musician. And this is because of this book. After that, while working with this is the map where the first recordings happened for this book. The grant came only to record Thikarda village, which is a Mali village. I was to record this village, complete ballad and publish the book. So the book happened, but at the same time, I had gone to the another surrounding villages and I ended up doing sampling, one night sampling in each village in 25 villages. So you can see over here, all those red dots that you see, Thikarda. So this is Bundi, and just 7 kilometers from Bundi is Thikarda. So the main recordings happen here, but after that I wanted to see how the other villages are singing and what kind of stylistic differences are there. So some 25 villages, Hadoti plus this is a Nagarchal region. This is already a region where I was doing this documentation of Meena painting, so I was very much familiar with this region already. So I went to this region also and this region also. So some 25 different varieties of singing came up from the first book that was published. Now I decided to let me find people in these villages who knows the ballad completely. So after this recording continued. The recording only happens during the monsoon because the ballad is sung only in the monsoon when the snake bite happens. And I have recorded them not in studios, I have recorded them where the people sing them originally, that is in the shrines. And Tejaji shrines are open shrines, they are not like Shikarnuma mandirs. So started recording further. So first recording was in Thikarda, then second recording happened at this place Dugari, then which is in Bundi again. Third happened at Ramnagar, which is in Kota district. Then over here, coming to this Char Chaurani, which is in Jhalawad, just on the borders of Madhya Pradesh over here. And one more village in Bara district, which is Akodia. Bara is here and Akodia is over here. This happened later on, so that it is not on the map, but Akodia is exactly over here. So some 4 or 5 places in Hadoti, I found that Hadoti is one language, but you see the great variety how this ballad has been sung. Here you see this is an area which is Sahariya tribal area. The language over here is not Hadoti actually. It sometimes has been recognized as Sipri, but you can call it the Sahariya language. Though it comes in geographically the area is called Hadoti, but the language is very different from here. It is Sahariya. So here I was able to record Sahariya community over here. In Char Chaurani was a mixed community of Teli and Nai and Dhakars over there. Bara here in Akodia, they were majorly Sahariya and again a mixture of Dhakar community here. Ramnagar was completely Meena over here, and I told you that Thikarda was a Mali village. And then this Dugari was a mix of various communities because it's a small kasbah, so many communities lives together in Dugari. Now, in the whole story, 2-3 places comes necessarily where Tejaji is born. He is born in Karnal. Now, where is Karnal? Karnal is very far. If you see this map of Rajasthan, I was recording only in this region, but the places which came in mention in the ballad were quite far. So Karnal, this is Karnal, which is Nagaur district, where Tejaji was born. This is Sursura, where he was bitten by a snake. This comes in near Kishangarh in Ajmer Tehsil, Ajmer district. This is Pushkar, where he was married, and Paneer, where he was married. His wife was from Paneer. So every time in this region, reference of these places came. So then I went to further to Karnal. I recorded in Karnal. They still believe they are descendants of Tejaji. So I recorded among the Jat. Tejaji is a Jat. I recorded among them. Then to Sursura, where he was bitten. And then slowly later on I'll show you where other recordings happen. So in Rajasthan we have this very popular saying when we talk about languages ki 12 kos boli palte, 10 kos pani. The taste of water also changes as you move from one place to another, and similarly the language also changes. So like that there are almost, if you think Rajasthan is not a language people call Rajasthani Bhasha. It's a myth. It's not a language. It could be Marwadi, it could be Haruti, Dhundadi, Shekhawati, Mewadi, Mewati. Those could be the languages, but Rajasthani is not a language. Okay. So now, what are the characteristics? What are the features of such ballads, and what are the features of such folk or the Adivasi oral traditions that we see? Ideal worship is really not necessary. At many places I have not seen Tejaji shrines, but there were Tejaji singers who were present in the village. There was no shrine. People could go to another larger shrine which is in the vicinity. There is no shrine in the village, but still people believe in Tejaji, people go and worship Tejaji, and they sing whole night in his memory. It's sacred but secular. There is a lot of, because all the communities, whether Dalits, non-Dalits, Muslims, Hindus, all are worshipping Tejaji, because snake bite happens to everyone. Snake bite is not related to any particular caste or religion. Reflective of diverse linguistic, musical, performative and visual traditions. Over here there is a performative and visual traditions also which are very much akin to this tradition. Socio-cultural diversities are at the heart of these traditions. Subjects of the songs is based on historical figures. All these people are not mythical figures. The folk deities has born in some village and some time period. They are historical figures, but draws context with the present. And whenever these stories are sung, they are sung in the present and not in the past tense. That they are still alive, they are still present, they are still around you only. You can invoke them anytime when you need them. They are just near to you. Folk deities are worshipped due to the heroic deeds and social commitments, mostly practiced by the rural and tribal communities and by non-professional musicians over here. People, anyone, the agriculturist or the barber or a teli, any professional community, everyone can participate and sing these ballads. Absence of caste and social hierarchy. There is no hierarchy in it, that one has to sit at far distance, one has to sit to the closer distance. That kind of caste hierarchy is absent over here. Priests of shrines are from within the community who may also possess spirits for immediate answers to the problems of the followers. So these are not Brahmanical traditions where the priest has to be necessarily from the higher caste. They could be from any caste. Music is a medium of reverence for invoking spirit in the priest. The purpose of this music, this performance, is basically to invoke the spirit to find answer or to extract the poison. Singing and performance of ballads, bhajans take place during night jagrans or when emergency arises. It can happen during the day if there is an emergency, some snake bite has happened. And snake bite only not for the people but also for the animals. For that also the deity could be invoked. Incarnation theories connecting to the classical Hindu god and goddesses has developed in the later years. This is a recent feature. Not before 30-40 years, there was no connection that this particular deity is incarnation of some higher classical deity. It is a recent phenomena that has evolved. The practice around these deities keep evolving, spread among different communities and regions. So it also keeps spreading. It is not that it's getting limited, but it has its own way of spreading to beyond the region also. So while working in Haruti, this region that I showed you, I found that though Tejaji is born in Marwar, but he has been very well worshipped and sung and celebrated in Haruti, which has no connection as such with Tejaji's life over there. So these are some the famous folk deities that we have in Rajasthan. Just let's give a little picture view of this. Gogaji is in Hanumangarh, where a place called Gogamedi. So this region, and he's a proper snake deity actually, and he's also worshipped for the snake bite. But his region is this. You travel around the periphery of Rajasthan. From here, if you travel this is Gogaji's area. This area. This is Gogaji. In the center is all Tejaji going to here and further passing into Malwa and then going further Nimad. Tejaji has been worshipped up to Nimad also. Then Pokhran Ramdevji, who is worshipped across even Gujarat, even in Madhya Pradesh also. So Ramdev has a large spread as compared to any of these deities. Then Pabuji, limited to certain communities, not all the communities are worshippers of Pabuji, it's a performative tradition. The Raikas or the Nayak Bhupas are the performers, so very few communities believe in Pabuji, who is born in Kolu, in Jodhpur. And Karnal is for Tejaji, and Bagdawats now is this place in Bhilwada. So over here, this whole story of Devnaran and his fathers is this place, Asin. So this spread is from this to this. This is Dholpur Karoli. Further, if you go to MP, Morena, this whole region, this is for Bagdawats. And it enters to the Bhil area also even. If you know this Bhilo Ka Bharat, there also this Bagdawat story is very much present. So east of Rajasthan is completely taken over by Bagdawat, but it has no connection with Tejaji except one thing, that there is a character Teja over here also in Bagdawat. Bagdawat has happened before Tejaji was born. Its period is Bagdawat's period is 9 to 10th century AD, whereas Tejaji's period is 11th century AD. So among these 24 brothers, one is Teja. All the 23 die in a battle, only Teja is left because he escapes the battle. And there, this Teja is cursed. This Teja is Bagdawat, among the 24 Bagdawat brothers. He is cursed by a wife that in the next life you will be bitten by a snake. So that curse happens over here. So people believe that this Teja is the same Teja who escaped the battleground in Bagdawat. So that is the only one connect that these two stories have. Otherwise, there is no connection. All the communities worship Tejaji, including Gujars also. And here is Pabuji, that you must be doing very well. Very popular story, popular paintings now. Now coming to who Tejaji is. He is a non-Rajput hero deity. Most of the deities that you see in Rajasthan have born in the Rajput families. He is a Jat. Born in a simple agriculture practicing family. When he is very young, means infant, we have a tradition of marrying the infant in children. Even we have tradition of marriage happening even before birth has taken place. Rajasthan is full of such stories. So here the both two families, one coming from Paner and one coming from Karnal, they meet in Pushkar and they marry. This Tejaji is from Karnal and the girl is from Bodal, is from Paner. Their parents meet and they solemnize the marriage and then they depart to their places. In between what happens? Some clashes happen between the two families. So this marriage is completely forgotten or is completely neglected. Tejaji grows up, every day he goes to graze the cattle, go and walk in the field, plough the fields. And his sister-in-law, Bhabi, used to come with the lunch in the afternoon. And one day she gets late. And in that case, some quarrel happens between both. And she cursed, the woman cursed Tejaji that, why don't you bring your wife? You are a married man. Why don't you go and get your wife? And till then, Tejaji is totally unaware that he was married. So getting angry he leaves the field, he leaves the cows there, he goes to his mother and asks, mother, when and where I was married, how I was married. So mother disclosed all the episode, that how it happened. He was married very well and people went in the marriage party in Bharat and the marriage went very well. But after that, this dispute happened and both the families parted away. But he insists that I want to go and see my wife. Now this is a monsoon period when this whole episode is happening. The whole story is set in the monsoon period. So mother advises him, this is monsoon, please don't go right now, you can go later on. But he insists, no, I have to go, I want to go. So mother asked him to go first to take permission from his Bhabi, sister-in-law, who had a problem with him, that go and ask her if she allows you to go, because there has to be someone to take care of the fields and cows and buffaloes also. So Bhabi says that your sister is also married, it has been 12 years, you should go first, bring your sister as your duty, then you can go to see your wife. So Tejaji get ready, take a bullock cart, his friend carries a bullock cart, himself mount a horse, mare, and they goes to first bring the sister. The sister comes back with them, and then again he insists that I want to go. So again the Bhabhi insists that it is not a good, they are not good omen, it's not a good time to go. Let me ask a Joshi whether it's a good time to go, you can leave or not. But he says, no, I'll go. So he couldn't stop, and then he leaves. And what happened in between, when he's going to see his wife on the way, there is a fire in the jungle. A snake, a pair of snake is burning in the jungle. The female snake has already completely died. The male snake was still there. So he pulled out the snake with his own bhala, the spear, and saves him. Now this snake, after coming out of the fire, gets angry that why did you save me? How will I live my whole life without my wife now? So I am going to bite you. Now Tejaji makes an excuse. I am on a journey to meet my wife. Let me go and see her. And when I return, I'll come back to you, and then you can bite me. So he said, what is the guarantee? So he says that this Suraj and Chand, moon, sun and moon, are a guarantee that I'll come back to your place. And Tejaji asks how I will find your place, your snake hole, where you will be when I come back. So he suggests that this one tree, the Khakra tree, which is a Palash tree, which has one leaf. If you identify that tree, my hole will be just next to that tree. So you come back, you have to fulfill your promise. So Tejaji lives to see his wife. Then various things happens in between, but finally he is able to go to visit his wife's house. Now there the parents were quite angry because some tussle has happened between the two families. So he is not treated well by the wife's family. So he departs, getting angry, he departs from there. His wife, who is known as Bodal, somewhere she has been recited as Pemal also, she runs behind to stop him, but he doesn't stop. So wife requests one of her friend, who is Mana Gujri, please stop him for a night so I can at least meet him. So Mana Gujri goes and requests Tejaji, please take my hospitality, I'll cook a nice food for you, I'll put out a nice bed for you. Just stay for a night and then you can leave. So Bodal also comes there, they meet at night, they play this pasar chopper they play at night. And this Gujri takes care of them. Now in taking care of Tejaji and Bodal, Tejaji and his wife, what happens that the Meena dacoits finds an opportunity to steal the cows of Mana Gujri. She had many cows. So those cows are stolen at night. In the morning, Mana Gujri comes to know that her cows are stolen by the Meena dacoits. So after discovering that, she comes to Tejaji and requests ki Teja, because of you, my cows are stolen. Now you have to go and bring them back. So Teja says that why don't you go to the Thakur of the village, why don't you go to the band who will beat drums, and all these warriors will come up and they will go and fight with the Meenas and bring the cows. But no one gets ready to take this fight with the Meenas. Finally Teja has to go. He fights with the Meenas and bring back cows. But he leaves one calf behind called Kanya Kevda, one-eye calf, because they sell it to buy liquor. The Meenas sell it to buy liquor for themselves and give away rest of the cows. So finding this, Gujri finds that his beloved Kana Kevda is not there, the cows has returned, but that was a beloved calf for her. So she again insists Tejaji to go back and bring that cow. Now Tejaji has to go, and this time a fierce battle takes place and Tejaji is badly wounded in that battle. There were 350 Meena dacoits which are narrated in the story. Now he brings back the Kana Kevda, which is handed over by the wives. He kills all the Meenas. The wife of the Meenas, they handed over the Kana Kevda. He brings it, he gives it to the Gujri and asks for a pot of milk. Mana Gujri look at him and see that all his body is all with blood, filled with blood. She suggests that she will get him cured, she will call a doctor and Ved. But he insists that now I have to fulfill my promise, I have to go to the snake, give me a pot of milk and let me live. So he goes with the mill to the snake, and there the snake says, see, you're bleeding everywhere, where should I bite you? So Teja says, my tongue is still intact, and my palm is also still intact. The whole of the body is wounded, but still my tongue is intact. You can climb on my mare, on my horse, and you can bite me over there. So you see this image. The snake climbs through the leg of this mare and then bites Tejaji in the tongue. And then this snake makes an Akashvani, makes a blessing to Tejaji that in future if anyone is bitten by a snake and if he takes your name and ties a thread in your name, whether in a neck, in a hand or in a leg, the person will get saved. So that's the connection of a snake bite and people worshipping Tejaji. So it is irrespective of the caste, it's irrespective of the religion, because near Biawar, I have recorded one longest ballad that I have recorded in my collection, which is 26 hours, is among the Marathi Muslims, Subhan Kathad, who practices Muslim, but he is a follower of Tejaji and he sung the longest ballad. Okay, so I'll play some samples for you to see the context of this story and to see the context of why Tejaji is worshipped. This is a recent recording north of Jaipur, because so far I have recorded in Marwar, in Hadoti, but north of Rajasthan is still left. So this year I am recording near Alwar and Jaipur and Dausa. So small video, and you will see, as I said initially, the purpose of the music is to invoke spirit of Tejaji and cure the snake bite. So this video is about that. So that was a small shrine, and every shrine has a Godla and a Bopa. Bopa possesses the spirit and Godla takes care of the temple or the shrine that is there. So it's an open shrine which had a tin shed. These are not like classical temples with a shikhar. Now, coming to this map, just to play few sample recordings, though at most of these places, complete recordings has been done. I've been able to record complete ballad in 10 places. I target for 15 places, but yeah, I think 10 has been completed over the period of 12 to 15 years. Because COVID was a gap in between, so 2-3 years gone in COVID. But this year I'm planning to identify 3 groups in Dausa, Alwar and Jaipur. So I hope to finish them. So I'll play small sample recordings, and what you see in them is the difference of the language, style of singing, musical instrument, and also the content of the story. Though the structure of the story is same, but the references changes. The references incorporate the local elements of the region. So these are 1 minute videos only, just to get an sense of these recordings. So this is Karnal, where Tejaji is born. There is no use of musical instrument here. Karnal, where the singers are also from the same community, Daudia Jat. Tejaji is from the Gotra Daudia, from the Jat, and these are descendants of Tejaji. Now the place where he was bitten. So this recording took 16 hours over a period of 2 years actually, because it's not very easy to assemble people at night. Sometimes someone is missing, some other is missing. So if you are making 5 attempts for recording, you will be able to actually record 2 times. This is my experience with this. So a lot of time goes waste in visiting these places. Now Sursura, which is here near Kishangarh in Ajmer district, the tradition of singing is like this, that it starts from the senior leaders of the community. There are 2, you can say in the village, there are 2 sections. One belongs to the Telis and another belongs to the Jat, who are the leaders. So 2 processions will begin from these 2 places, Patelo ke ghar se, and then they will converge at one place, and this procession will culminate in morning around 5 o'clock at Tejaji shrine. So the singing starts at 10 o'clock and it has to completely finish by 5 o'clock in the morning. So you can say that one night singing which has to capture the complete story, because it's a flag procession that starts from these Patel 2 places in the village and finish at Tejaji shrine in the morning. There is a use of musical instruments over here, but there is some curse that no one will possess the spirit of Tejaji in Sursura. Some episode happens long back, and this was a curse of the village. So no one possessed Bhopaji, does not possess anybody here in Sursura. But what is important for Sursura is the holy fire. The holy fire from the Havan of this temple is taken across in the nearby vicinity to cure various problems in the villages, even the cow disease also. Now coming to this place, which is Magra region basically, the language is called Magra Bhasha. It is recognized as Khadi Marwadi also, but and over here the Marathi, I told you that the converted Muslims, they have come, and this has been the longest ballad of 26 hours again, which took 2 years to complete here. No musical instruments. Then further coming to east near Tonk, Kekri, this is sung by the Gujars. The beat is quite fast. Then further when we come to Thikarda, from where the work started, it is more melodious and little slow. now, people has also started using harmonium. This is a new introduction which has started in last 10 years. So this is in Kota, near Kota. Then further going to this on the borders, just on Jhalawar district, and further it also enters in the Malwa region. I have not been able to record here, but the Bhils around Jhabua, around Ratlam, they are said to sing Tejaji ballad there. So this is on the borders. Where the Sairia, the tribal community, also sings Tejaji, and I found that this is a main deity. Tejaji is a main deity for the Sairia. They are a tribal community which has nothing to do with the Jats, but for them, Tejaji is the main deity. He has not been a ruler, he has not been a king, but over here, Raja, always they are pronouncing him as a Raja. Now coming directly to north, what I said that Tejaji in genre of a goat singing, which is primarily meant for Bhagdavat or Hiraman, is also sung over here. This was the shortest recording I did recently, just near Sariska. They finished the story in half an hour, complete, done. And I was so surprised that it just took them half an hour. It was very shortcut. They just picked up the main points of the story and they finished it. And I found that this is a recent development. As I said in the earlier presentation, that this keeps evolving also. So might be Tejaji was not sung in this area 5-6 years ago. These people might have picked up the story from YouTube also, what I feel, because these were all young guys. And they started singing Tejaji over there. So the shortest story, half an hour, finished. Earlier I was thinking it was only Sursura, where necessarily they have to finish the story in one night because it is attached with the flag procession. So like that there are many samples, like I have some 50 samples, and we also did one project with Akashvani Kota. Akashvani was very much interested to do a complete recording of similarly of a ballad. So I suggested that why don't we call 30 to 35 different teams from different villages and record them in sequence to record the complete ballad. And they were ready to spend such kind of a money because they got this grant from central government. And we invited some 32 different groups from different villages, and each village was auditioned. It was for the first time that this Akashvani has gone in the field to audition these musicians, and they were invited to the studios in Kota. They all were recorded. So that's another great work that has been done by Akashvani Kota. So many samples, many varieties of. I think this is the only one ballad which has such a big diversity as compared to any other. I know in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, there are so many folk deities, but this is something amazing. Now coming to the language map over here, if I mapped it across the different language, so you see Tejaji is born in Karnal, which is almost central Rajasthan, in Nagaur district, adjoining to Jodhpur, and one wave travels to this part towards Alwar, covering this area of Jaipur, Alwar, Dausa, and small parts of this Jammu districts also nowadays. So various languages are covered in that. You can see red is for Dhundadi, the greenish yellow top one is Mewati language, and the orangish one is Pachwara language, which is near Dausa, Lalsot, that region is Pachwara. Then one travels towards the Sahria region through the Bara district and Kota and Tonk and districts. So that you see the languages over there. Kheradi is a language which is, you can say, spoken parts of Tonk and Ajmer district. Then this purple one is Nagarchali. Nagarchali is a language of Savai Madhopur and Tonk district. Then Haruti covers a large part of this eastern Rajasthan. And then Sahria, which is also sometimes has been recognized as a language called Sipuri, which extends into Madhya Pradesh and this area, the Shivpuri area. Now coming to this another side, which is going down to the Malwa region, you can see that Khadi Marwadi, which is Magra, and some of the languages which you can say are just part of the Haruti language. It is there also. It is. So this is a spread of Tejaji, this is mostly towards east. This might be because of the migrations also, because whenever famine has happened in Rajasthan, in Marwad, mostly the migrations has been towards Malwa. Like Chapanya Kal ka Akal, we still remember. So many communities has migrated from this region to Malwa also. So maybe because of that reason, this ballad has travelled from west to east. Now, drawing this comparison, what I see, how this changes, how the subject matter also changes, how the context in the story also changes, though the basic structure of the story is same, but then what changes in it. So, what changes, you can see the rivers are there. So, all these rivers find their reference in the ballad because at one point, Tejaji has to cross the river. It is monsoon time, it is flooded, so the horse becomes the boat, and so the legs become propellers. So there also you see that Tejaji has to cross that river, so the name of that river will come into it. And then what changes, like Tejaji has been pronounced differently, like in Haruti, it is Teja or Tejaji or Teja Rajkumar. Then in Sahria language, which is a tribal language, Tejal Rajkumar, for them he is a Rajkumar. Then Marwad is called Tejo. Then Khadi Marwadi, which is Magra Bhasha of Ajmer, Tejal Dhaulia Jat Teja. Then Dhundadi, Tej Kavar, Utari Teja. But now the interesting part is name of the wife changes. It is Bodal in Haruti, it is Bodar Rani, it is Pamal, it is Pamal De, again Pamal. Similarly is the name of sister also, Radha, Rajal of Mumi and Rajal. Name of his father-in-law, Madnaji, Raimalji Musa and Baksuji also somewhere. So that name is also changing. Kharnal is not changing, only the pronunciations are different. Kharnalia bhi hai, Kharnadia hai, that way Kharnal is same, this name is not changing. But in one of the recording, which is from a village called Ramnagar, it is Dugari, they are calling Roopnagar. Only one ballad where I sing that the birthplace of Tejaji is Roopnagar. Now Roopnagar is near Kishangarh. which is not factually correct because in other places I have only listened Karnal. So there is only one exception of the recordings of Dugari that Roopnagar comes. Now Mana Gujri, the Gujri which hosts Tejaji for a night, so she is Mana Gujri or Gujar Rani Hira Gujri, Lacha Gujri. So Mana, Hira, Lacha, she has been named differently in different places over there. Name of Tejaji's horse, it is Bhodi or Leel Bacheri, Bacheri Leelan, Bhodi Revash, Revat Leelada also, it has been pronounced. Then Gayon ka Jhund which has been taken away by the Meena dacoits. So Revad, Bed, Talio, Salad Gay ka Jhund, Gayon, that way it is. Now rivers you can see over here. In Hadoti, the name of Kali Sindh is coming. Kali Sindh is a peripheral vein which merged into Chambal River. This is being Chambal River and Kali Sindh is here. So it merged into that. So that is Kali Sindh. Then Banas. Banas is there which divides Rajasthan and Set. Then Nadiyan. Sometimes there is no name. They just call Nadiyan. Ghodi Nadi. And then Sapra Nadi. Now this Sapra Nadi is in, I think it is in MP. But over here also it finds a mention, though it is Dhunad. Dhunad is inside the border, not just on the border of Madhya Pradesh, but Sapra Nadi has been called by these people of this Jayachandpura. Then similarly, Meenas has been recognized as Chandmir ke Meena, Mama. They were also related to Tejaji as Mama because the sister, the wife, this mother of Tejaji used to tie Rakhi to them. So they have called them as Mama also. Meena Mama, Chang ke Kalia Meena and Meena Chanka, that way. So you see that the content, the subject also little bit changes and the sequence of the story also changes. I have seen that there is an episode where there is a flood in between and after crossing the floods, he meets this snake burning in the forest fire. So sometimes that forest fire comes before that flood or sometimes it comes after the flood. So that way the sequence also changes. The detail of the story also, it could be very extensive in detail, it could be very shortened also, like I said that half an hour they completed the Tejaji Pandit. So this is how these shrines of Tejaji look like. They are composite of many other folk deities also. So here you can see the left hand one is for Ramdevji, this which has a shikhar is for Ramdevji. The center one where the Bhopa is standing is of Tejaji. So there may be mix of various shrines also. And this is the Bairati community from Biawar near Ajmer. They sing in two groups coming opposite each other like a Jugalbandi. So here you can see always that the formation of two groups, they sit opposite to each other. Here they sit, there they stand, and you can see there is no instrument. Here they are using this chung, big chung is they are using, Janjira they are using. Over there they are using this small drum dhak near Jaipur. So various ways of sitting, standing, using different musical instruments. This one is like Johar Kheda, so you can see, understand how two groups sings together over here. man is Subhan Kathar, the highly knowledgeable man I have found in all my recordings so far. Marathi, who is a Muslim, and as I said that there are necessarily no shrines of Tejaji. It's not that every village has a shrine. So we recorded this in a Hanuman temple here. This is Hanumanji's temple. There we recorded, and this recording it was 26 hours. It is transcribed, and now also it is ready to publish. This is, I showed you those near Sariska. You listened to this recording already, but I can just play a small. Performative tradition of Tejaji, which has not been there actually in recent time. This is evolving because earlier it was completely devotional. The purpose was devotion and also the purpose for the snake bites. But now it is turning to be more of an entertainment kind of thing, as like pilgrimage are also becoming more of a tourism kind of a thing these days. So this is near Chaksu, a neighboring district to Jaipur. Sorry, it is within Jaipur, the Tehsil of Jaipur. Such places I have not been able to find even a single person who knows to sing the complete ballad. They just sing popular part of it when the Mela happens, because this Teyadashmi comes by the end of the monsoon. It is in the month of Bhadwa. So when this monsoon ends, that's the time when Tejaji's festival means when he was bitten by the snake, that comes to end. So there, only on the festival day, they do these performances. So they only know the popular part of the story that they can sing, and this whole business happens. Also, what has happened, this is quite when I started working in the year 2010, some commercial recordings of Tejaji also coming up, which were just played by the truck drivers or maybe in the houses. So you can see the kind of recordings these were at that time, which is a standard Rajasthani language that we can recognize these languages. No specific language you can say from these recordings. So, nothing original that relates to, just a small parts of the stories that you can see. Then, slowly the stage performance also came up. This happened later on. When these further commercial cassettes came, then the commercial performance also start happening. So this is from Kota Dashera Mela, I met this group, so listen to the kind of song. So some of the women also started later on, they picked up, but from the commercial perspective, not in the space where this was originally meant. Then YouTube music came up, which is now everywhere. So what has happened actually, all these commercial cassettes, these performance stage, YouTube, these has replaced the musicians. The musicians are completely gone from these spaces where these are being played right now. So you listen to this very fast music. And then they just now, you can play all these big sound systems you see nowadays. So now this Tejaji places are completely taken over by the youth. Even if there are people who want to sing, there are no opportunity. They are not allowed. These music systems, not a single mic is given to them. And what happens? They just dance madly. They dance. They have no faith in Tejaji. They have no relationship with Tejaji. Just this nuisance happen. And the same music you can listen in the marriages also. You can listen in them in these political campaigns which has happened these days. So wherever they are common, that is what is happening. So I feel that all these recording with the people, they are the large generation people that I've worked, and many of them do not exist even. Like in Thikarda I worked with Jagaji, he's no more. And after his death, the whole Mandli just dispersed. The Mandli now no more sings over there. Few young boys has learned from the book. But that too, they are singing commercially now. Like I took name of Giriraj Megwal, Giriraj Kalbelia. So he charged money now. It's not that those kind of performances are happening which I have witnessed, which I recorded in Thikarda. Similarly at other places also, people are not coming together because there are a lot of disputes within the villages also. This elections now also is creating a lot of faction within the society. So this is something which I feel that has been important work which has been done. But now this should go back to the community, because when this first work happened, the purpose was only this, that they should go back to the community. If it can survive these traditions some manner actually, at least the proper form of Tejaji should be there, at least in those people who are interested. So hopefully, I do not know if there are people from Pari who promise to come. They have assured that all these recordings will be put on the Pari network, which could be easily accessed by the communities, because that's a platform which is free for everyone. So that work has started now, but there is a lot of effort which is required in transcription, because these languages, I cannot understand all the languages. There has to be a local person from the local area who can understand the singing and who can write these songs. So half of the transcriptions of the earlier recordings is almost complete, but further more transcriptions need to be done. Then the transcription, then translations will happen, and then things could be published. But these could be published simply online. There is no need to publish these hard copies of book, which consumes a lot of money also. So thanks to you, thanks to giving this opportunity to talk about this work I have been doing on Tejaji. I found this subject to be most interesting subject in Rajasthan, and that's why I am into it. And this work will continue for a few more years until I am able to find these last singers of Tejaji. Thank you.
Thank you, Madan, for this very detailed and amazing description of your work. I think you can see the amount of ethnographic detail that's gone into this over 20 years. It's amazing. And for bringing us every aspect of it. Now we're looking at the geographic, we're seeing what's happened earlier, what's happened now. We'll take questions, but I just wanted to add one hopeful note to the very sad thing that we are really hoping we are going to work for a grant to finish doing what we have started with archiving Madan's collection with us and to bring the rest of his work digital. And hopefully if we are able to get the grant we are applying for, it will all go online and be able to be accessible and hopefully get us some funding to do the metadata, which is so important, because without having all that detail, there's no way that this can survive. So we'll take any questions if there are. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What is the link of the Sapera community? I have 2 or 3 questions. One is, what is the link of the Sapera link with Tejaji? The second is, how many traditions which you have documented are related to have the Algozi music in it? And the role of women, the Saperans or any other community, and the relationship with, between the Goga Medi and the Tejaji connection. Because the Saperas keep talking about both of them together.
So I have something interesting to tell about this. So this is near a place called Agartha, where a snake bite has happened. And people said the Kalbelia came to rescue the person. So I went to meet that Kalbelia, who was put out outside the village because they live on the periphery of the village. They are not allowed to live inside the village. And he said, yes, it was a cobra. I caught the cobra, but the person was no more because he was taken to Tejaji shrine. They did not take him to doctor. So the person passed away, but this Sapera has taken out the snake from the house. And he identified, and he has captured that cobra and it was there in his basket. He showed me that cobra also in his basket. I said, do you believe in Tejaji? He said, not at all. See, you have to understand, Sapera are followers of Nag sect. They are followers of Shiva. And there is no connection between Tejaji and Shiva. So they do not at all, they are not worshippers of Tejaji. They do not believe in Tejaji. Now what they help in the whole Tejaji business that I tell you. At some of the places I have found that when the priest, the Bopa, possesses the spirit, he takes the snake into his hand, and that's a cobra. He handles the cobra. Even at one time, I was put around with a cobra. We garlanded the Bopa, garlanding the cobra, live cobra. Now these cobras are brought by the Kalbelias. So I have seen few Kalbelias on the day of festival where they transfer these cobras to, depoison them, they take out the ducts, and then you can just play with the cobra. Not one place, many places I have seen them. So that's the only relationship, but they are not believers of Tejaji at all, no connection. Then you ask for the Algoza thing. So Algoza we see in 2 places, we see in West Rajasthan and we see in East Rajasthan also. East Rajasthan is completely related to only with Tejaji performance. West Rajasthan, the musical instrument is there among the Langas and it is also there among the Bhils also. So Langa you know very well, who is very old now, 95, who received the Sahitya Academy Award. Na? So लंबा वाला जो था वो सब रहता था, कुमुदा के आते थे, मेहर टीम के साथ जो दूसरा था, the old, very old.
Karim Khan is the best Algoza player of the Langas.
And among the Bhils, I am recording this Anup ji, who is from Pokhara. He is also a very good Algoza player. So langa, the instrument is with the langas, or I have seen with the wheels over there.
Kutch also we have Algoza.
Kutch has Algoza.
And a lot of the जाट भी बजाते हैं Algoza.
Jat ही बजाते हैं Algoza. Yes, see, in the Tejaji, whether it's a Jat, Mali, anyone, it's irrespective of caste. Anyone can play Algoza.
But all double flutes are not Algoza, so they should.
I'm
They are
talking
not,
about
and then they yes, all are not Algoza. And Algoza would be from this size to this size.
Yes.
It varies from this size to this size.
And the last question was Goga Mary or Tejaji के उसमें क्या रिश्ता है?
So I said that both the spaces are differently shared by the committees. Goga is on the borders of Rajasthan, and Tejas is the center to east of Rajasthan. They do not mix, they do not cross each other.
So my question is that आपने अभी बोला कि जो कलबेली हैं वो नहीं मानते और उन्होंने एक चीज़ की डॉक्टर के पास मिले थे तो जो लार्जर वेस्टर्न मेडिसिन का जो स्प्रेड है मेरा ये पूछना है कि ट्रेडिशनल वैद तेजाजी और मॉडर्न वेस्टर्न मेडिसिन इन तीनों की क्या प्रायोरिटी है अब मतलब कितने लोग एक्चुअली मानते हैं कि तेजाजी शुड बी द फर्स्ट पॉइंट आफ्टर स्नेक बाइट ये अलग एरिया में अलग है वो कि वैदों का ट्रेडिशनल कोई इसमें रोल था स्नेक बाइट्स में मतलब एज अ फंक्शनल थिंग क्या क्या बिलीफ सिस्टम्स हैं बिकॉज हमारे यहाँ हमेशा जैसे आप प्लुरैलिटी की बात कर रहे हैं सिस्टम्स भी प्लूरल रहे हैं कोई भी क्योर के लिए हेल्थ वाइज या कोई भी प्रॉब्लम के लिए
So here I interviewed a snake conservator actually. Mahavir ji was in Kota. He worked a lot on snakes. So I showed him all these photographs and whatever I has been documenting, and I asked him, practically, scientifically, 25% snakes in Rajasthan are poisonous, 75 are non-poisonous, right? So even if the non-poisonous snakes bites you, by trauma you die. That is also a fact. People do not know whether it's poisonous or non-poisonous. आप डर जाओगे, you will collapse. So I think over there, such belief in Tejaji saves you. Now the Bhopa, who possesses the spirit, has some medicinal knowledge also. You know, over there you saw he was holding that neem ka patra, which is meant for purification and for to exhume out your poison also. Then he will give few remedies that what you have to eat and what you need not to eat, and you have to be strict you have to follow that strict regime for 3 to 4 days. So in that case, people get cured. I have seen people, the whole leg is swelling, it is oozing out, but after 4 or 5 days, they recover and they return. So that's the case of non-poisonous snake, but if it is a poisonous, I have not seen people survive. People have died. Many cases I have seen while researching this.
लेकिन हम देखते हैं कि जो कृषक समुदाय से जो देवता बने उनमें राजस्थान एक सामंती राज्य भी था तो हम देखते हैं कि जो सामंती जातियां हैं कल्चरली या क्या हैं तो उनमें कई कहावतें हैं जैसे मुझे रामदेव जी के बारे में पता है एक कहावत की रामदेव जी ने तो ढेर ही ढेर पा दिया ऐसी कहावत तेजा जी के बारे में भी है मैं नागौर से आता हूँ तो मुझे वो पता है तो ये कोई जो कृषक समुदायों से आए हुए देवता हैं उनको लेकर के कोई कास्ट कैरेक्टर है कि जैसे कि आप देखिए कि पंच पीरों में तेजा जी नहीं है और पंच पीरों में जो है वो सभी राजपूत है सभी लोग देवता दूसरा आधुनिकता के साथ जो संवाद है डीजे संस्कृति वगैरह जो आई है उसे हम जो न्यूसेंस कह रहे हैं कोमल कोठारी की जो स्थापना थी कि आप उसे न्यूसेंस मत कहिए लोग अपने आप में परिवर्तनशील ही रहेगा ठीक है मैं जानता हूँ कि वो उसका बाजार के साथ भी जुड़ाव है तो वो हमारे अध्ययन की सीमा बन जाएगा क्या इस तरीके से एक मेरा सवाल है दूसरा कोमल जी की एक और स्थापना थी कि खाद्यान्न बदलने के साथ लोक देवता बदल जाते ठीक है, तो उसको आपने कहाँ पाया ये 2-3 साल?
हाँ, ये तो सब्जेक्ट खाद्यान्न वाला हमने बहुत पढ़ा, बिकॉज वी डिड द ब्लूम म्यूजियम, उसका पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट खाद्यान्न के साथ ही था। तो वो एरिया जो है जिसको आप बाजरा क्षेत्र कहेंगे तो गोगा जी का ही इलाका है पूरा का पूरा। और जो ज्वार वाला जोन है वो पूरा तेजा जी का जोन है, ठीक है जो। और तो ये तो आप डिस्टिंक्शन अगर फूड के हिसाब से करना चाहते हैं तो ये तरीका है। दूसरा आपने कहा कि सामंतवाद, देखो मेरा रिकॉर्डिंग हुआ था, फर्स्ट रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ तेजा जी, आई हैव डिवोटेड दिस बुक टू महाराजा राजेंद्र सिंह तिवारी। Now listen to this. This is very important. He is a Thikanedar of a Bundi state, and Duwari is a place which is 40 kilometers from Bundi, where 400-year-old Tejaji shrine in a Shikarima temple. It's just classical temple structure dedicated to Tejaji exists. And from there, वहाँ से बाग है, उस बाग का बांस जो है वो वहाँ से कम 50 किलोमीटर के रेडियस में लोग लेके जाते हैं। एंड दैट बाग बिलोंग्स टू द रॉयल फैमिली। उस रॉयल फैमिली की हवेली के अंदर पहला जो मंदिर है जो घुसते हैं तो तेजा जी का है, उनके मुख्य देवता तेजा जी हैं। दिस इज वन एग्जांपल। सेकंड एग्जांपल, व्हेन आई वाज रिकॉर्डिंग ऑन द बॉर्डर्स ऑफ झालावाड़, देयर आल्सो आई वाज होस्टेड बाय दिस स्मॉल ठिकानेदार ऑफ दिस आतड़का। ही इज अ बिलीवर ऑफ तेजा जी। तो मेरा ये कहना है कि यहाँ सामंतवाद का रिलेशनशिप नहीं है, यहाँ कास्ट का रिलेशनशिप नहीं है, कम्युनिटी का रिलेशनशिप नहीं है। द स्नेक बाइट इज अ मेजर थिंग। ही इज बीइंग वर्शिप्ड बाय द ब्राह्मण्स, बिकॉज नियर जयपुर द ग्रुप जयचंदपुरा इज अ ब्राह्मण ग्रुप, बागड़ा ब्राह्मण, जिनके अंदर रिकॉर्डिंग की। सो देयर इज नो कास्ट, रिलीजन, कम्युनिटी relationship over here. All these people worship Teja ji.
Thank you for showing so many images and videos. But what was absent, then you can't see any women. So was it because they are not involved in these, or you weren't allowed to photograph them? And as you get more modern, then you can see one woman, like female dancing, and then of course cassette pe baj raha hai, so women can also access it. So has
also there was a female singing in the CD. Yeah, in the commercial.
The boy can
that
hear.
I understood, but it's presenting as female, right? So what does that do?
So I tell you, the women are not allowed to enter inside the shrine. Nowhere, no place. They are not allowed to enter the shrine. You have seen that person, those two women who were bitten by the snake, and they were there, and the Bhopa is taking out the poison. They were sitting outside. So women are not allowed. This is one very clear thing. But in the commercial spaces, women has taken the stage. There are Tejaji singers, women singers, who are invited to stage, and they perform it, they sing. Over there, that was a boy actually. So in the whole, on the festival of Tejaji, there are people who dress up as women. They dance a horse also. Someone bring up this dummy of a horse, and we play that also. So that will happen. There are all more recordings also where men have worn dresses of women and they are dancing. There are many recordings I have. But in the shrine area, not everyone is allowed. Not even other people are also allowed. Women are strictly not allowed.
I think that was super interesting. I'm curious about this transition from it having a clear social function to now it sounds like more performative and consumer function. And what do you see happening? Is there any, how is that changing the I don't know, the music, the experience?
This is same what Shubhaji can also tell on a long experience of working with the Langa and Maghani House. They were specific to their patronage only earlier. They were only visiting their patron villages and performing. They were strict to that. They couldn't perform for other communities. They were limited. But now they are performing the world stage. The same is the case over here also, that they are not just limited to the shrine space, but they are doing it everywhere. They are doing it on stage also, wherever space they get. So it's a change. It's most of the traditional musical traditions that you see. This big shift is now happening. It has taken up the whole digital space now. It's just not a shrine space. It's not a physical space. It has taken up this whole worldwide media platform now. So most of the traditions are taking on like this, and now also we look at these traditions from a very tourist perspective, which is also how we see, how we analyze these traditions. Things has become more like filmy now. We are very much impacted by the Bollywood and all this also. So this is how the change that we are seeking, it's accommodating various changes now. So new forms will keep evolving. But the thing is, the soul of the subject, whether that remains or not, that's the question. The body can change.
So I was just wondering that whether it's like that there are more access to the doctors now, so the whole belief system associated with the performance, the ritual performance, is getting omitted and it's getting decontextualized. Is it the thing? Can it be considered as one of the factors?
See, people are also getting educated, not just the doctors, not just to access to the doctors. People are getting educated also. They know that anti-venom is a solution. Everyone knows. So people rush to the hospitals. And then after having that anti-venom, they can come to Tejaji. Many cases I've seen. They first visit the temple and then they come to Tejaji shrine. So the faith is parallelly working with this. It is working the villages parallelly.
So you mentioned that the shortest recording that you did was within a community that earlier did not have any association with Tejaji. And I was just trying to think through my own work in Garhwal, where there are now, there is the larger tradition of Pandav Leela, and it happens across Garhwal. In Garhwal, where there are these communities which do the Pandav Leela, and it's spread across. But there are also some parts which had not been doing Pandav Leela. But now there's because Pandav Leela or Raman got the UNESCO recognition, post that time, there is a kind of reclamation of, I don't know if it could be called identity, and it's now being done in central universities by students given a classical framework, use of harmonium which was not there earlier. So could that be a reason to be seen here? Because it's kind of claiming identity for a ritual which was not part of the community, at least in this very small part.
There is a reclamation of Tejaji identity very much. It's becoming very strong. Because the last government funded a panorama on Tejaji in Karnal, which was huge crores of rupees. The shrine, the main shrine of Tejaji in Karnal is being sponsored by a big politician from Haryana. There was a recent dispute also that happened on the festival. There were clashes between the two political groups. So Tejaji is being reclaimed for a different purpose. Understand? For a political purpose. Maybe for an identity purpose also. I know very small part of Jat community has believed in Tejaji for a long many years. Haryana has never acknowledged Tejaji. West Rajasthan, which is start from Jodhpur, go to Bardmer, Jaisalmer, those Jat has never recognized Tejaji. It's very recently that they have started recognizing because of the identity claim. And also the community has to come together for they need some you can say something to bind with actually. So the reclamation of Tejaji is happening, and there were no shrines of Tejaji in the whole of Marwar. So new form of style of shrines has come up, and that is they construct the Tejaji with a horse. Nothing, no shrine, nothing, only a statue of Tejaji sitting on a horse. That is coming all across west of Rajasthan recently actually. So that is what you see, but that you talk about the Pandun Leela, we call it Pandurunga Kada, which is sung in Alwar, also sung in Havati also, very much in Rajasthan also. But with Tejaji, if you're talking of that particular group, which is a Gujar group, living in the dens inside this Sariska Sanctuary. I do not know how they picked it up because in the nearby area I did not find any major temple of Tejaji in that. They might have either visited Karnal or somewhere and then they might have picked up the story from YouTube and then they started.
Thank you. It was a very insightful presentation. So I'm just extending the question which she asked, that there is no involvement of women. So are there is any specific reason, or do you find any reason that why since earlier time they are not involving women inside this district?
See, in villages you will see there are many traditions where women has no entry. Suppose a village panchayat will happen, there is no entry for the women. So not just this, but apart from this, there are many other traditions also where women do not find entry. But this is not among the Adivasis. If you see this, compare this among the Adivasis, then they have equal rights in all the spaces.
Like I understand, but I'm just thinking, is there any reason you find while you're researching or you're talking to why they do not involve women?
This is a simple male-dominant society. Simple.
You had briefly mentioned your engagement with the Bhil. Have you worked in the Bhil region, in Mewar, in Maswara? And what did you find any presence of Tejaji in that?
No. So I said that Gogaji goes there. Nag Bavsi, one is Nag Bavsi, whose images are made in carved in stone, as also made by these people in Molina also. It is Nag Bavsi or it is Gogaji. That is there.
One last question.
So my question is about the role of the Muslims basically, because what I have found also, like while reading one of the work of Dominique Sila Khan, so she has like worked on Ramavir. So she has also like connected this Ramavir with the Nizari Panth. So have you like found instances in this case also, like, because the Muslims usually, when I see in the case of Ramavir and here as you were talking about that Tejaji, so they are like quite known and have information, a lot of information about these sects, folk sects. So can you like kind of explain the relationship between the Muslims and also about this Tejaji?
Now you have to understand this dynamics of this community called Merathi community. They have recently converted. They are among the Hindus, like what you see the Mewati in Alwar. Similarly are the Mirasi and similarly are the Merathi. Three communities in Rajasthan. Merathi of Ajmer, Mirasi of Western Rajasthan and Mewati of Northern Rajasthan, which is Alwar. Their conversions has been recent. Now in Merathi, what I noticed that they do not do namaz, they do not have masjid still. They can marry both ways, by nikah or by having 7 फेरास, दोनों तरीके से. लड़की वाले के ऊपर, लड़की वाला कहेगा निकाह होगा तो निकाह, लड़का वाला कहेगा कि 7 फेरे होंगे तो फिर उसको पैसे का खर्चा उठाना पड़ेगा, पंडित का पैसा उसको देना पड़ेगा. So there is a lot of liberty. Now these people Merathi still greet you जय माता दी, है ना, उनका राम राम या कोई और कोई शब्द नहीं है. जब भी आप जाओगे जय माता दी. And they are spread across a big area of 100 kilometers. We start from Narwar, which is near Ajmer, where the airport has come up, Kishangarh Airport. And it extends to Dever. Dever is in Rajasthan district. It's a whole mountainous area called Magra region. In this whole of Magra region, you will find these Merathis worshipping Ramdev ji, Mata ji, Bhairo ji. If you go to a place called Dev Mali, which is a place where Dev Narayan was born, and if you go to the Saptami, when this festival of Devnaran happens, 70% are Merathi and only 30% are Gujar. I have seen not once, twice. 70% Merathis are worshipper at Devmali, which is a main place for the Gujar community. 30% are Gujar or other Hindu communities. So there is a lot of liberty that has existed among the communities in Rajasthan. If we see, if literally see in the roots actually, if you literally go into the field and see, there is no clear line also among many religions. They have been practicing both.
Very last question.
So I was just curious, first of all, thanks a lot for this very insightful talk. I was just curious about, like in Madhya Pradesh, some musicians from the Banjara community, they sing both Kabir as well as they sing Tejaji. So what is this overlap with Kabir, and does that also happen in Rajasthan?
See, they can sing all. Now this, you're talking of Banjaras now. I recorded Tejaji among the Kanjars. That was the most challenging recording because this village was known notoriously and no one was ready to go with me to, and these recordings happen only at night, so you have to go at night. So Banjaras has sung Kabir for one purpose, that has been to keep awake at night, because when they used to camp and they were fear of all these thefts and all that. So there's tradition among them of satsang developed because of that reason. So they are singers of Kabir. Now Tejaji is simple what I said. When the Sahariya is singing, when the Bhil is singing, and the Kanjar is singing, when the Brahmins are singing, every community has a faith in Tejaji because of the snake bite there. Snake bite will also happen to the Banjara. And I have recorded a Banjara in Bundi. One of my singer in this village I am forgetting near Talwas, that was a Banjara village. So it has already been recorded in Bundi district among the Banjaras. But yes, they have these Nulguri bhajans. It's a very strong tradition. I recorded them near this place called Kheer, which is on the Pachpadra lake where the salt used to carry. They used to carry salt from this Pachpadra and then to central India. So there, Meera and Kabir, they sung beautifully. So that is there. Most of the nomadic communities has these traditions of satsang for their own protection basically.
Can I add a comment to this? Because I just want to add one comment that I would say all of India was like this under British India. There is enough documentation available. And especially because I am from Punjab and both my parents are from what is now Pakistan. And I had many uncles and aunts, and they all said that even till late 1800s and early 1900s, there was no literacy. So when there's no literacy, it doesn't matter whether you are Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, you can't read Gurmukhi, you can't read Devanagari, there are no books. So no one knows what their texts say. So if there's no textual knowledge, if there's only oral knowledge, then the only thing which is important across West Punjab, East Punjab was Heer. And there were competitions of Heer. And it didn't matter whether you are a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh. No one, Hindus wore turbans, Sikhs didn't wear turbans. There were no fixed rules. And so I don't know, I mean, it's that, I think what he's sharing is what all of us were maybe 100, 150 years ago, maximum.
And there's still pockets.
And they're pockets, they're pockets. That's it. Thanks.
And that's what we need to celebrate anyway. Thank you very much.